Hey everybody, welcome to the first vlog of Let's Talk Books, the book series where we technically review books that we don't review on series. The podcast. So a lot of them books will be maybe series titles that we don't get round to doing, or series that we don't have a lot of time to finish off properly in a podcast, so we can do a quick vlog. But my biggest passion is literature, from anything outside AC to inside AC. So this vlog is an opportunity for me to just mini review different series of books that I've read. Now they are going to be short vlogs and a little bit, and the probably format may change as I get more comfortable and get used to doing these setups. So this is a pilot, and it is a great pilot to start with. I was given the opportunity to read Raiders of the Bloodwood from the Descent Journeys into the Dark series by Aconite Books. There will be a link in the description below so you can find Aconite's website and check where you can buy the book, because it is a fantastical read. Now I've got my notes, I'm all professional, and I've got my mobile just so I've got little more stuff to read. So, what is Descent? Descent is basically a tabletop RPG. It's similar to, from what I understand, Dungeons and Dragons, but less dice throws and more math. Dungeons and Dragons is fantasy math, in my opinion. So it is a very popular tabletop RPG that I've not heard of, and when you don't hear of something and then you read a book, it is a very big red flag right there. Because you then fall into the trap of, do you know the franchise? Can you read the book and understand it? And if you can't read the book and you can't understand it, then it's a waste of potential. Now the author David Manner, who was it Davide, sorry for pronouncing his name wrong, has actually done a fantastic job where he's written the book in such a way that you know the world as you read it. So from the prologue to the end, you feel you know the world, you know the characters, and you know the details, but you don't need prior knowledge. I feel if you are someone who's played this tabletop RPG a lot, you would get a lot out of this book, and vice versa. As this is my first descent into the franchise of Descent, I was very skeptical that I would understand anything, and yet the prologue kicked it off right at the start. It gave you the premise, the main villain, there's the action. Straight after the prologue, you could jump into chapter 1, and the pacing from there is just perfect. It follows the adventures of three characters, but I'll get more into that first. So first of all, what is the Raiders of the Bloodwood? So Aconite Books website, which is again linked in the description, says that the invasion of Terrinoth has begun. Brutal Ophokyolan hordes swarm across the land, ravaging everything in the path. A great champion has risen in the Darklands, Beastmaster Furtar, bent on destroying the wild and mystical Bloodwood as his first step in conquering the great forest of Emmeline, annihilating the elves who call it home. If the Emmeline burns, so will Terrinoth. Trapped between his army and the forest are a misfit band of elven, orcish, catfolk and human refugees. To repel the murderous Beastmaster, they must overcome their differences, embrace the skills, and learn the secrets of the Bloodwood. They are the realm's only hope. Now, in my opinion, that description is enough to get you hooked completely, but it doesn't do justice of how amazing this book really is. So, one of the biggest notes I picked is it is a new spin, in my opinion, on good versus evil. Typical when you read a good versus evil book, it's like a group must band together, fight evil, it's their destiny or their job. But no, in this story, the cat, the orc, the elf, and the human all come together by chance, and it's their fight survival that leads them into the Bloodwood, that leads them to stopping the darkness. That is the basic premise, and it's done phenomenally well. The first part 1 of the book, you introduce into the characters, so you the Catwoman, and I'm not going to spoil names or anything because I want it to all be a mystery. The Catwoman and the human are companions together, and their stories told from both points of view, and it's quite unique. The first character introduced is one of the human refugees. He's a shopkeeper, and he's actually really cool. And there's some really nice comedical moments in what is a very action-heavy fantasy book that is brilliant from the get-go. And there's an elven hunter who stumbles on them by chance, and basically they just want survival. And the Orcish is a soldier that abandons his post to escort them to safety. That's it. They're going to safety and they're accidentally thrust into the world of saving humanity. And I'm not doing it justice because I'm trying to keep it spoiler free. If I didn't do spoiler free, I will be gushing over everything. Like, my notes is a lot. I really adored this book. One of the things I did really enjoy was the story switched sometimes from different point of views, and Stephen King does this in some of his novels, and J.R.R. Martin did in Game of Thrones, and sometimes it can feel a bit jarring, but here David Mann did a really good job of making it all cohesive and work together, so I was very impressed. What else did I write? Yes, the setting. The setting is amazing. It is a really good fantasy story with a great blend of action, kinship, and a little bit of humour in places. The author has done a really good job as well painting the world. So as he describes the colours of the trees, the arm and the world, you do get a very vivid sense of the world you're in. And once you finish the book, you feel like you know these characters and you know the world. As someone who's never played the Descent series, this is very important, because it feels if I was to pick up another Descent book, which I hope to do, I will know the world already, but the characters will be new. And if I want to get into tabletop RPG, then as well, I would know as well what is happening. And I think that is a very important detail for authors to do, is to make the world feel both good for fans of the series and newcomers. So I praise a lot of the author for doing this. So really, that is it. The book is just fantastic. It is a great RPG. I've been playing games too much. It's a great fantasy novel that has 3 parts, 4 parts technically. A prologue, part 1, part 2, and then part 3, and an epilogue. But epilogue doesn't count as a part. The prologue sets the scene in a very good way. Part 1 introduces the characters. Part 2 gives you the brunt of the story. Part 3 is the finale, and the epilogue is just perfect. The epilogue, in my opinion, ends on a cliffhanger. Is the evil finished? If it's not, it really does set up more future of the Descent books. And I think because it's a tabletop RPG, you need to keep it open-ended, because if you write a campaign in the future with this character, it's like, well, a novel says he wasn't alive, so the open-endedness is great, in my opinion. So if you are a fan of fantasy books and you're looking for something new to sink your teeth into, The Descent Ready with Bloodwood is one I would highly recommend. It is great fantasy reading, really good pace. There was never a moment in the story I was like, wish it would slow down, or wish it would hurry up. It was just a great read from start to finish. 3 parts, including the prologue and the epilogue, was a great way to separate it and keep the pacing. Different points of views was a great way to know the characters and know the details. And the last big point is the authors did a great job of painting the world in words. I love the description of Bloodwood, the characters and the action scenes. It basically ticks everything in my box for a fantasy book, and I think you too would enjoy this book if you are a fantasy reader. So if you are familiar with the Descent series, I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments below. And if you want to hear more vlogs, then a like and subscribe will help. And don't forget to check out Aconite Books below for a link to where you can find this book. And thank you again to them for allowing me to get an early, I think it's called like review copy, that's what it's called. Thank you for giving me a review copy, it was very nice. And currently reading a review copy of a Marvel book, The Head of Mimir, and it is actually pretty good. And I can't wait to review that next. So thank you all, and I'll see you all in the next review.